Well, we're counting down the hours till the caucus begins. They start around 7 o'clock. And according to the latest polls, the Texas Congressman Ron Paul has a very strong chance to take Iowa. Even if Congressman Paul...
Well, you know what they say. Broken clocks are right twice a day, and blind hogs do occasionally find acorns and truffles. And there's Shepard Smith of Fox News pointing out that early trends from the latest polls show that Ron Paul should handily win the Iowa caucuses. Now, they've just started the voting at the precincts, and then it has to be tabulated at that secret location because anonymous hackers have threatened to disrupt it. And I saw it reported today that the fellow who's been out protesting in front of Ron Paul's offices in Iowa with Anonymous is reportedly the person that uploaded the video of Anonymous saying that hackers were going to go after it. So you can see who the system is definitely upset about. The Drudge Report is linked to our article. Tonight's Iowa vote count to take place at secret location. Continuing, concerns about supervision grow after Republican strategist says GOP establishment will not allow Ron Paul to win. We're going to break some more of this down, and then we're going to have constitutional lawyer Timothy Baldwin joining us to talk about election 2012, the attack on states' rights, and more. That is coming up. So there's that report. Concerns about subversion grow after Republican strategist says GOP establishment will not allow Ron Paul to win. And we have the full clip of the strategist who's a frequent guest on Fox News telling Iowa radio this. And it's not clear if she's saying they're not going to let him win by influencing people or something else, but they sound very confident that Ron Paul is not going to be allowed to win. In fact, here's the article, and we've got part of the transcript here. Republican insider, GOP establishment planning to subvert Iowa to prevent Ron Paul win. Now, I had Ron Paul's brother, who's another great patriot, anti-Federal Reserve activist, on today, and he sent it to top folks in the campaign, and they said, no, we're aware of these reports, and people are saying this, and we're reporting on what they're saying, but we've got people everywhere, and it looks like that this process is going to be fair. So let's hope that that's the case. We'll know more tomorrow in the aftermath of this, because they're now doing the voting, but it's got to be sent to that secret location, and I guess finagled for a while until we find out exactly what happened. McBreen has an interesting theory, one of our reporters, and that's that they know he's probably got a 20-point lead, as some real on the street polls are showing. And so they just want people to know that he's such a front runner, but they know they can't steal it because it's too obvious, so they might have him win by 1 point or something. We're going to find out, maybe even by the end of the show tonight. Continuing, the host of the show refers to the state GOP insiders showing great concern that Ron Paul is performing well in Iowa because they fear Ron Paul win would undermine Iowa's position as being the first Republican primary. Oh, it undermines it if people vote for him, implying Ron Paul's undermining the state. He implies that influential members of the Republican establishment within the state are offering sweetheart deals to prominent voting blocs in key swing districts in order to sway the result and ensure Ron Paul doesn't win. And it goes on with the D.D. Benke saying, is it possible that the party apparatus here could be silently acting and asking those district chairmen to start swaying some important caucus members over the anti-Paul end, which may end up being Santorum? Do you see a scenario like that happening? He asked her. And then she said, I've talked to party officials. I know they're concerned about it, said Benke, adding that Ron Paul doesn't do us any good in Iowa, doesn't do our country any good, and never get there. So let's figure out what we can do. And then it goes on to talk about the party officials swaying people not to vote for him. So this could be seen either way, but we're going to continue to track that this evening. Continuing, there's another article by Kurt Nimmo breaking this down. Transparent Vote, countering the establishment monopoly on vote reporting. And there's different organizations like Transparent Vote that are asking people at all of the locations to demand to see the local precinct tally and to have it posted as it's legally supposed to be and not called in to the, quote, secret location. So the, quote, national election pool, I guess that's tied into Voter News Services, can basically tell us whatever they want. Continuing here with the Ron Paul news, Santorum lashes out at Ron Paul, calls Iowa frontrunner disgusting. And Santorum's also broken down crying, talking about children, lots of other desperate little staged events from the neocon. There's really no end to the things that they'll do, calling somebody who's simply a constitutionalist disgusting. But I guess as George Orwell said, telling the truth in a world of universal deceit is a revolutionary act. Shifting gears, there's an article here out of the Telegraph today, children becoming addicted to computers. Well, that's true. And children in all the big studies are also addicted to television. But they're really going after computers because at least there it's interactive and isn't just 10 or 15 flavors of globalist propaganda. They might actually run into some truth online. And so that's why the system is so concerned about the internet, because it's supplanting them. In fact, I've never seen my children get the same zombie-like stare being on the computer, doing interactive learning or researching of something they're doing, than when they actually are allowed to watch television and you can't get their attention. So there is that report. And here's another report out of CBS News. Charlton Library sends police to collect overdue books from a 5-year-old. I've seen cases in Williamson County, just north of Austin, where if a video is a day overdue, they come and arrest you and charge you with theft. In one case from the Hollywood Video that was up there a few years ago. Of course, that was back when they still had video stores. Now everything's gone to Redbox. But it just shows this throw the book at petty criminals or people that aren't even criminals, but then let MF Global steal $1 billion+ because it's politically connected, give 16+ trillion to the private Federal Reserve to give to private individuals, and then have no discussion about where the money went, even when Ben Bernanke gets caught lying about it. Continuing with the CBS piece, here's a short clip where the police officer says, yeah, it does seem like an overreaction, but I'm just following orders. Where did we hear that before?
Nobody wanted to, on this end, get involved in it, but the library contacted us and the chief delegated, and apparently I was one of the low men on the totem pole.
But state law does outline a misdemeanor for such things, and police thought a friendly reminder might make a better impression and get better results than a cold summons to court.
The library director knew she'd get flack over this, but
if something seems overblown, it is. Use some discretion, police. If you don't have better things to do and real criminals to go after, perhaps your police department could be downsized. After all, we're in a depression here. But see, police can only revenue generate now in many cases. They can't actually help the people. And that's because we're going into this austerity predatory system. I have another report here. This is out of the London Telegraph as well. At one of the Queen's estates, police examine human remains. Residents have expressed shock at the discovery of human remains in the woodland on the estate, the Queen's Country Retreat in Norfolk. You know, they're constantly digging up dead bodies or finding dead bodies on Bush estates around the United States. They're always finding dead bodies at royal estates. They have a lot of employees. It could be some of them. But we also have previous reports in the Daily Mail and others about the royal family dining on human flesh just a couple hundred years ago. So there's no idea what these predators have really been up to. Detectives are set to return to the scene Tuesday as they continue to try to establish the identity of the remains. A post-mortem is due to take place. It remains unclear how long the remains have been there, if there is, in fact, a body, or the age of the victim or victims. The dog walker has also not been named. And they say that the operation has been shrouded in secrecy. And see, that's the problem, because it's the royals that's shrouded in secrecy. Now, there it is. British royalty dined on human flesh. But don't worry, it was 300 years ago. Yeah, right. They say they quit wiping their hind ends 90 years ago or so, but we did research. They still have grooms of the stool. Oh, yes, their defecation is examined, and generally a top lord is there to wipe their bottoms because they're so holy. They dare not have to do it themselves. I mean, look at that. Trendy. It is just a stone's throw away from Stud and the Royal House. It's very close. You couldn't get very close to the site. Police said they expected to be there through tomorrow. So there you have it. There's a nice telling photograph of Witchy Poo, Queen Elizabeth II, there on the front of the article. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the news section, and we'll have more for you, obviously, tomorrow when we know more about what happened in Iowa, but it's very exciting to see how much support Ron Paul's getting. Shows that liberty is rising and the tyrants are squirming. We're going to come back with Mr. Baldwin to break down more on the campaign trail and look at the attack on the 10th Amendment states' rights. Stay with us. It's InfoWars Nightly News.
America is in trouble.
Washington is a disgrace.
Government has become too big. It's overtaxing, overspending.
We need to change direction.
We really need change.
We can't afford to make the same mistakes we've made in the past.
Mitt Romney's reputation as a flip-flopper.
He went the other way when he got paid to go the other way.
There is need for economic stimulus.
It's about serial hypocrisy.
This election is about trust.
There's been one true, consistent candidate, and that's Dr. Ron Paul.
Ron Paul has been so consistent from the very beginning.
He seems like a more honest candidate.
He tells the truth about what he believes, whether you like it or not.
He's never once voted for a tax increase, never once voted for an unbalanced budget.
Ron Paul's plan is bold, cuts 5 departments. It's what we need.
When he says he's going to cut $1 trillion in the first year, I believe it.
If you don't like how things are going and you're tired of politicians, he's something different.
Ron Paul.
Ron Paul.
Ron Paul.
Ron Paul
is the one we've been looking for.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the InfoWars store at InfoWars.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe InfoWars t-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at InfoWars.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there, wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at InfoWars.com today. The water filters, the canteens, it's all there. InfoWars.com.
It was between 1972 and 73, but it was still a lot of prejudice around this area. My wife was sick and I was trying to get some attention for her. Nobody came to check. They just left her there. Well, I believe I was left there because of the difference, me being black and her being white. And every time I would say something to the head nurse, she would get pretty upset. And then she finally called the Freeport Police Department, said I was harassing her. And I mean, I didn't know anything to do. Well, then Ron Paul come to my rescue. He just stepped in and went to work with my wife. And after he seen her, I'd say no more than 10 minutes later, she had a stillborn boy child. And he said, as far as the bill, he would take care of everything, which he did. I never got a bill from the hospital or anything. And